and see. It's all painted and polished. All you got to do is buy the ticket and win it, and then you keep the good gas and oil in it. So stop by their booth behind the building and help them out. One ticket for one price, or a book of 5 for another price. So you don't see these tractors like this too often, and you've got a chance you can win it. I only know his first name. This is Jim, but this is one of the big G700 series. This is a big diesel. The 700 series came in a 704, 705, 706, and 708. And I believe the 706 and 708s had either the Elwood or the Coleman front-wheel drive axle in front of them. They also built a 707, which was kind of a stopgap tractor right before they started building the G1000. This is Travis's tractor. He's got a driver, and all he did as a work in progress was to paint those fancy letters on the hood, and that's as far as he got. But he likes to do tractor pulling with that. So Minneapolis Moline built their engines and things to a certain pattern that you can actually take a bigger crankshaft from a bigger tractor and set it right in. It'll fit, so you can make a bigger engine out of what it really looks like. Industrial 400, 1964. The diamond tread tires on it would possibly be a signal that that tractor might have been used in a building. It wouldn't have been used. And then the corresponding farm tractor would have been a 335. There's a little bit of trouble with the headlights. The glass is missing. But it's got some standard 6-bolt wheels that also have been seen on Allis-Chalmers and John Deere tractors, the rear wheels. And we saw a high crop, and this is a regular crop. This is a 1953 BF. Got a little bit of faded paint on it, but running good. The Minneapolis Moline tractors like that use engines from the Hercules Engine Corporation. There was always an X in the model number, like IXB or IXK. 1978 Jeep, Chad Roberson, Jeep J20, pride of ownership. Keep it polished up. Don't drive it in the salt. It'll look nice. Got the collector plates on it. Previous tractors to the M670 was the famous M5, and then I think the M670 is kind of a continuation of that. 336 cubic inch engine, just the right size of tractor. It's not overly big and it's not overly small. So this one is a gas. They also build them in diesel and LP. It looks to be also in original condition. And in front of the G1000 Vista, this is the type of sign you saw at a dealer, or at least an interpretation of it. Minneapolis Moline Power Implement Company, modern farm machinery. The G1000 Vista, they moved the operator, they put a platform on it and moved the fuel tank from in front of the operator to the rear, and actually the operator is sitting on the fuel tank because a seat bracket is part of the fuel tank. But the operator sits ahead of the rear wheels. The ride is supposed to be a little bit smoother and such like that. Big 504 engine in the G1000 and also the G700 that came through here. And this is our gracious host, Dwayne and Marilyn Gherkin. We want to thank them for hosting us again. This is Dwayne's Minneapolis R. So we appreciate the efforts of them having the grounds ready like this. They built the last Minneapolis Moline R in 1954 after they were done with the Avery experiment. I think the engine in the R is 158 cubic inch, but it follows the same line of engines that were in the Z and the U. It was called an F-head engine. There weren't any push rods. They were just giant wraparounds that ran the valves, and the valves were sideways. Haley Poncelet has her Cletrac. Cletracs were built in different gauges. This one is narrower, but again, it has the Hercules engine in it, either an IXK or an IXB. Andy Jostock has an F20, and I think it had a rubber steering wheel and cast wheels. When those failed, he put the iron steering wheel on, and he found some cut downs. Andy Jostock Construction, called the Tin Man. The sign there is on the side of his wagon. Been a long time exhibitor here at the show. He started doing some changings with the 730 and the 830. We've got the tall sheet metal on this tractor that would have be coming on the Comfort Kings, but this tractor is not a Comfort King. The Comfort King was like the Minneapolis Vista. They put a platform on top of the rear end and you sat up higher. This is Andy Jostock's tractor. K730 was usually the tractor that just had the dual range drive, and then 830 was the tractor that had the Case-O-Matic. It looks to be an original condition Case 3-bottom plow behind it, hydraulic lift. And still a single adjusting lever. John Deere 60 has the famous Roll-O-Matic front end. The Roll-O-Matic front end was invented by Minnesota inventor Adolf Ronning. Adolf Ronning prototyped those on IH tractors, but IH didn't want it. When he showed it to John Deere, they said, we'll take 1,000,000 of them. So first there's a 60, and then there's a John Deere 50. The 60 replaced the A, and the 50 replaced the B, and the 3020 replaced everything. This is a 4-cylinder gas tractor. This was an update of the 3010. The first 3010 4-cylinder gas tractors were 201 cubic inch, and the diesels were 226, so you're just basically buying a green Alice Chalmers. And they didn't have the snooze that the 720s and 730s, you could not pull your 4-bottom plow. 560 diesel. The 560 got its start in the summer of 1958. IH had a promotion called the New World of Power. They had a little trouble with the 560s, kind of gave IH a black eye, but then they kind of corrected that by 1961, but the damage had been done. And then in the fall of 63, they came out with a new 706 and 806s, and the guy in a suit said, you build them heck for stout or else, and they did. So W4 is a standard H. It still has the 152 engine, but you will not go out and cultivate corn with a W4. It's just too low to the ground. It can do everything else. Pull the grain drill, pull the swather, pull the combine. Get her done that way. Here's a 3010 diesel. It's got some nice factory frame weights on the front and kind of in a chevron shape. Got an old original dealer sticker from an old dealer in Lake City. Got the disc wheels on it to make it a little bit lighter, possibly for tractor pulling. So Eric said this tractor came out of the Graves lot, and Graves said they got it from Midwest Machinery, was traded in somehow, but it's 4520, and they used the blade to push silage. And as a welder, I noticed that whoever was in charge of doing the welding, they did a lot of fixing on the pivots on that blade. Attached to the tractor is a hydraulic rollover plow for plowing your soil all in the same direction. You just went back and forth, left wheel in the furrow, come to the end, spin around, right wheel in the furrow, but all of your soil was turned in the same direction, basically for soil conservation or hillside. A 4030 6-cylinder gas burner from the Eric Arndt collection, 1973. In August of 72, the 4030, the 4230, the 44, and the 4630 were introduced as the Generation 2 tractors. This 4030 has a 3-disc plow. On the one disc, you'll see some notches. I think they did that to help avoid cracking problems. 1955 70 diesel, also from Eric Arndt's collection. Eric's Empire is about 10 miles east of here. 1946A, Jim Perotti. It's a slant dash tractor. This one has the starter and lights, but you could also buy a slant dash tractor without the starter and lights. So there are several different ways you could buy them depending on your farm cash flow, which at the time wasn't a lot, but you did the best. So A 2600 Ford, and the fenders are yellow because they came off from either an LCG tractor or an industrial, but they bolt right on, so he said the original paint is orange, so it was either an industrial or a highway tractor, and then they repainted into the agricultural colors. John Doe's 770 in 1964. First year for the plastic grille, the metal emblems on the side of the hood, and the flat top fenders. He's pulling the all-steel Case corn binder. Case corn binders are built under the Osborne patents. Osborne is an old company. International owned them at one time, and when they divested, Case bought them up. Kind of the replacement for the 190 and the 200. This is the Alice 7000. These were built with different underbellies. Some of them are maroon, I think the earliest ones. This one is black. Then eventually the 7000 gave way to the 7010 and the 7020, I believe. He was telling me yesterday this is an orange painted Minneapolis Big Mo 500 Industrial, and the loader that's on it is an Ottawa loader. It's got a nice metal plate on it, and it has the wheel weights on the back, and it has the big counterweights with a big MM cast into them. There's also many thousands of pounds. Make sure the back end of your tractor doesn't come up when you're trying to lift something, whether you're doing it right or not. Jetstar 3, it's got an Oliver 1610 loader, and I believe the Oliver 1610 loader was painted yellow for attachment to Minneapolis Moline tractors. You can see it bolts right on without too much adapting, and the loader has had a little bit of patching to it, but they did a nice, neat job. Dan Poncelet, one of the grandkids, he's a Massey 22. In Massey's series of tractors, they started out with the 11. The 11 was the pony, and then the one before the 22 was the 21, but they called it the Colt, and the one after the 22 was the 23, but they called that tractor the Mustang. And they had the 33, the 44, and the 55. 730 diesel. Starting it with an electric starting motor. Sometimes when the pony engine goes bad, they have a conversion kit. They can put a starter on it. Rebuilding those pony engines is getting expensive. Parts are hard to find. 60 pulling tractor, it's an early one. The slots in the early wheels on the 60s and the 50s, someone gave those the nickname window wheels because you can see right through them. Here's Haley Poncelet. This is her Oliver 77. This came from the Pat Overend collection. They auctioned those tractors off at the end of August. A nice 77, wide front, side panels, and Oliver Superior spreader. Spreaders had a hard life, and so this one has been nicely restored. But the Superior name was on the manure spreaders and the grain drills. Also on the Massey 22 and the Oliver 77, the lights work. They've got them on, so. And that looks like